here with that. Welcome, everyone. Alrighty, I'd like to share with you a sentiment of metta, of loving kindness. And I'd like to share this one with you because one of our wise friends is here who made this. This is made by our wonderful Sangha member, Sean C. He sent me these beautiful paintings, and then I cut them up and wrote a sentiment of metta on the back of it. And I love the simplicity of this. I love the symmetry of it, and I love its little, mark of asymmetry down here too. I just think the whole thing is glorious. This one reads, "May the brightness of the day bring clarity. May the brightness of the day bring clarity." And golly, in Spokane, Washington today, it is a bright day. The sun is out. It's gorgeous. It's unseasonably warm. It's really, really lovely. For the month of December, friends, we have been exploring peace as a topic. We've been exploring how to become peacemakers, how to enact activities and practices that encourage peacemaking. In the Sateseva practice that we have here, the practices are called instruments of peace. And this is really a focus on creating in the mind, body, spirit an essence of peace so that by extension peace can radiate out into the world. And I began this exploration with the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, which is, "There is no way to peace. Peace is the way." And so much of the habit energy that lives in us as human beings, that's frankly been conditioned in us, and it's a legacy that we carry with our ancestors, from our ancestors, is this searching outside of ourselves, grasping outside of ourselves, believing outside of ourselves that it's all out there. And what ends up happening in that practice is, because that is a limited way of living one's life, the inevitable disappointments that we're going to experience out there, the inevitable frustrations and agitations out there, what happens is we bring it inward, we internalize it, which then translates as creating an inner landscape that is depleted, neglected, bleak. The Buddhist practices teach us to come inward, come into the inner landscape of you. And that is where we begin. The soil of you is where you make your efforts to amend, to plant seeds, to add your gifts of nurturance, to enact your wise efforts and actions and your capacity for concentration and present time awareness, all of that in the Garden of Eden, that is you. And there, peace grows. And from there, peace out here in life is illuminated, is put down in each of your steps. I shared with everybody as a book of encouragement to get your hands on Thich Nhat Hanh's Peace is Every Step. It's not peace in every step. Peace is every one of your steps. And the beauty of it is it's mutual. So your peace that you've cultivated as you step onto the earth is planted into the earth, but the earth itself is a source of peace. And so you get to mutually experience its gift of peace to you. Giving, receiving, giving, receiving, receiving, giving. The mutuality of that is so reinforcing, and it is truly the energy that keeps us going no matter the struggle, no matter the confusion, no matter the disappointment, agitation, irritation. Come into the wonder of your bodies and allow your breath to be a point of concentration, if that's comfortable for you. Not everybody enjoys concentrating on the breath. I happen to really enjoy it. But for you, if that's not a source of concentration, if that's a source of distraction for you, please acknowledge that and honor that in your own body and find something that rings true to you. Here we are, beginning to enter into the holidays, family interactions, dysfunctional interactions, awkward interactions, joyful interactions. How do we keep the waters steady? Or rather, how do we navigate the waters with a steady state of mind, a peaceful state of mind? For many of us, one of the ways that we achieve that rather successfully is to become intoxicated, dissociated, removed, numb. We don't feel anything, coasting right along. Unfortunately, for many of us, that led to skid marks of destruction, burn marks, painful impressions and memories. So when we come into family gatherings, we come head to head, face to face with a mirror. And that can sometimes be really painful. So one of the best enactments of peace to bring with you and to carry very close, not in your pocket, right in the center of your heart, is to give yourself permission to take breaks. To excuse yourself from the situation. With all due respect and with love, I'm going to remove myself and take a break to breathe and ground myself. Thank you all for understanding. Beautiful phrase. Beautiful communication, beautiful boundary. But there's always someone, isn't there, that's just so ready to take that vulnerability and weaponize it. There just seems there's always somebody ready to make some waves that don't even need to be made. They know your buttons. They know how to stir you. It's like there are just people out there intent on picking a fight. So how do we infuse ourselves in the situation with peace? Well, there are a couple of things to play with. And one of my favorite things to think about is the way I feel defensive. Uncle Ray shows up, says something stupid, and the next thing I know, I'm feeling really, really defensive, really armored and hardened. And I just want to bail. I just want to leave. And sometimes I do. There's no interaction there. The habit energy that inhibits peacemaking within is the way we blame the spoon. Uncle Ray is the spoon for me. He comes into my cauldron of emotion. He gives me a good stir. I feel all defensive. And the next thing I know, I'm blaming Uncle Ray for, quote, making me feel, end quote. And all of that is true and not the whole truth. Because the truth is, Uncle Ray is not responsible for my emotions. I am. So while he is the spoon and responsible for the way he stirred me up, I am responsible for my emotional stirrings and the way I respond to them or react to them. Defensiveness reflects a habit energy of blaming. And so when we want to come into peacemaking, it's not difficult. It's simply a practice. What we do is first recognize, oh, would you look at this? I'm all stirred up. I got a spoon in my cauldron without me asking. There it is. Or maybe it's a situation. Who knows? Some spoon has just entered my emotionality and given me a stir. And, ew, it stirred up some deep, dark chunks that I don't even want to look at. Ugh. So easy to blame them. And it's not particularly peaceful. When I'm blaming and defensive, I'm not peaceful. So if I want to become more peaceful, and I do, then I practice. Would you look at this? Look at everything that's stirred up. And there's a bunch of stuff here that I don't want to look at. And you know what? I get to choose. I have the power to choose what I want to look at, what I'm able to look at. I get to decide that. Many years ago, friends, when I was a community leader and was holding space for a large community of women, I had someone approach me and say, Julia, what's your problem? Do you have a savior complex or something? Good spoon. Really good spoon. And my first reaction to this individual was, no, totally defensive. And I was lying to myself because, of course, I have a savior complex. Everybody ought to have a savior complex, friends. But it need not be complex nor complicated. And so, getting past the accusation, getting past that tone, simply looking at that going, wow, that was true. I do have a thing about being a savior. That is true. And the truth is, that's a good thing. I want to help. I want people to save themselves. I want to encourage and create environments for people to save themselves. I cannot save other people in most instances, but I can create the conditions for people to save themselves, and that is a good thing. And the truth of that is I do it really well a lot of times. And I flub-a-dub it a lot too. And most of the time, it's okay. I had another spoon one time come to me saying, Julia, you have such a fear and an aversion of making a mistake. No, I don't. I'm not afraid. I'm fine with making mistakes. Hear all that defensiveness? It's totally true. I have a fear and aversion of making mistakes. That is absolutely true and not the whole truth. I fear making mistakes with people who are intolerant of errors, who expect perfection and do not have the capacity for error. I fear their unskillful reaction. You bet I do, because I'm smart. I'm smart, and I've learned the hard way. And there are other situations and with other people where I have no fear at all. In fact, I feel very daring. I try all kinds of things and I make so many mistakes. And with those people, I feel nothing but encouraged to keep trying, keep going. You know, it's a little bit like the animated movie Meet the Robinsons. They're a bunch of inventors, and they make all these mistakes, and they hoop and holler when everyone's experiment fails. They're like, "Woohoo! You made a mistake. Now you have something to learn." But not everyone is like that, and I fear their reaction because I have a healthy sense of self. So getting back to family, getting back to the dysfunctionality of people, getting back to the accusations and the blaming and the stirring. One of the things that we all benefit from in terms of peacemaking is being right. So when somebody comes at you with, you have such a savior complex, you're right. That's true. And not the whole truth. And then you can leave. If that person isn't someone that you can have a conversation with, leave. Just drop that mic right there. You're right. That's true. I do have a savior complex, and it's not the whole truth. Mic drop. Moving on. Respectfully, I'm going to take a break and meditate and ground myself Because one of the things I'm doing, one of the things I'm saving, is an essence of peace, depleted in this world. Friends, come inside, come home. Take care of your defensive posturing. Take notice of the way you blame. And see if you can shift it ever so slightly by using those very simple mantras. Would you look at that? Wow. And the other, that's true. I do that. And it's not the whole truth. And even if what you do isn't particularly noble, let's say you do something humiliating and you don't like this about yourself, it can be true. And it's still no way going to be the truth of you. Remembering that, really letting that land deeply in the core of your being is what will keep the pilot light lit and enable you to stay on the safe shores of peace. Alrighty, friends, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. One of the things to take to heart, and I mean that literally, take it to your heart rather than your mind, is that when people come at us with accusations, with harshness, with aggression, it is an automatic indicator. Oh, unpracticed. Maybe not even conscious, not aware that there's this whole way of being called mindfulness. There's qualities of loving kindness that are limitless, compassion, joy, equanimity, limitless. And so when we encounter that harshness, and we either get defensive or we recoil, that is the moment. That's the invitation where those qualities of loving kindness, compassion, joy, equanimity can be lit. That's the limitless nature of it. Oh, here's my opportunity to practice. And we practice for ourselves. And by staying solid in ourselves, that radiates out. Whether that other person is accepting, is able to receive your radiance, is not your shift to work. That's entirely theirs. And yet we radiate the goodness anyway. That's the practice of merit. We receive the goodness, we radiate the goodness. Why? Because something in our deep knowing has decided to become a peacemaker. Something in the evolution of our own lives has awakened us to the folly of aggression, to the falsity of aversion. And we are tuning in to the deep, expansive nature of connection, of love, of peace. Thank you so much for bringing it here. Thank you for leaving in this space the impression of you that is magnanimous, beautiful, and radiant. Peace be with you. Namaste.